Hello everyone, Alistair Gold here. Tottenham Hotspur, eh? What a club. I said it before, Al Pacino, Godfather Part 3. Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in. And they really, really do it somehow. I don't know, just when you're in your kind of last ebb of hope and despair is there around the corner, Tottenham can do both, can't they? They can take your hope, drain it away, and give you despair. But just when you think you're about to despair, they can take that away and give you a little bit of hope suddenly. But, Shawshank Redemption, maybe that's the most dangerous thing, to have a little bit of hope. But they were good. They were good last night. They were organised. Probably the most mature performance I've seen from them this season. They saved it for the biggest occasion. Let's admit it. We all thought they'd crumble. I did. I thought the atmosphere was too much. I thought it was going to be too noisy. We've seen that before. We've done these trips away and we've seen what Spurs have done, not only in the Europa, but in the Premier League as well. All signs pointed to doom, disaster and downfall. And Tottenham didn't do it. Tottenham were going, no, we don't like that script. We're going to write our own one. And praise the Lord for that, because, wow, that was a really enjoyable night in Frankfurt. I am well after the game, after all the work, press conference staff, everything. I was on one of the trams back. It brought me into the city centre of Frankfurt, and my word, I saw the Spurs fans were enjoying themselves, so to put it that way. I could see them as O'Reilly's Irish Bar. The tram kind of went by it, and I looked out the window. I was like, whoa, they are enjoying it. And why not, quite frankly, because this has been a rarity this season, and this could end up being something special. So to kind of been there and seen that and enjoyed it and had that great moment that we'll talk about with, the players after the game and everything. And yeah, I'm sure there's a few Spurs fans that might not remember the night too well, but I hope they remember the game. Because like I said, we didn't think it was going to happen. We didn't. And look, I'm generalising. I'm massively throwing my net across all Spurs fans. I'm sure there are some Spurs fans that did believe. George Sessions, who's the Press Association reporter, covers Spurs, who you'll sometimes hear me refer to. He is the most optimistic man in the world. I think I used to be that, and I think Tottenham beat me down over the years, but he is still the most optimistic man in the world when it comes to Spurs. And every game he's really kind of thinking, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. And he was like that, and it's just lovely for someone that is genuinely optimistic to have that happen. And like, yep, told you. I was dreadful. My prediction was like the classic early goal they're going to concede, and then they're going to give us something, and maybe going to get back into it later on. It was like I just couldn't go there. And Spurs did everything we wanted of them. And actually, on that note about kind of worst, fearing the worst, when I was going through customs at Frankfurt Airport, coming in, not customs, border control, where they stamp your passports. The chap behind the counter, as he was about to stamp my passport, said, what are you here for? And I was like, football, watching the Tottenham match. And he said, do you think Tottenham will win? And I was like, maybe. And he kind of laughed and he said, every Tottenham fan I've asked so far has said no. And it just kind of shows you that the fear going into this game. But in truth, I felt it was Frankfurt on the night, that fearful Frankfurt. I thought they looked nervy. It was a great atmosphere. Went out quite early. I normally, at matches, am doing work downstairs in the bowels of the stadium. And I don't normally go out till maybe 15 minutes before. I just thought, you know what, on this occasion, I'm going to go up a good 40, 45 minutes before. I want to kind of see the reaction they get in the warm-up and everything. And it was their bog standard, let's boo them when they come onto the pitch, and, cheering everything that Frankfurt do. And it was a great atmosphere. That's one thing that I don't know why it's not translated across to Tottenham. Maybe it's because I don't know whether the crowd would take part or not, but it's always struck me. I think it was Juventus. Their old stadium, was it Stadio d'Alpi? I can't remember what it's called now. Where I remember them doing this, and it always stuck with me that why don't we kind of have that? Because it starts the atmosphere building up, and it's when they do the teams, they'll say the first name, and then the crowd say the second name. It's a really simple thing, but so many European grounds do that. So they were doing it last night, and it was like, what's his name? Mario, good see, and the whole crowd do it, like 55,000 people all shouting this one name. And I don't know whether at Spurs people are like, there might be certain players that go, "Nyeh," and they don't say it. I don't know. But I just think it's just this really simple thing to get the crowd going. But anyway, the atmosphere was it was superb. It was loud. Maybe wouldn't say as loud as Galatasaray. Galatasaray is still probably up there among the most decibel piercing noises I've heard. But it was good. It was good. And you could see how Spurs players might shrink in that environment. They might worry about a pass. They might try and play it safe, all this sort of stuff. They didn't do it. They didn't do it. They looked like the more experienced side, Spurs, despite the fact that, it's a very young side and there's not a lot of experience in there. And like I said, set up really well. I thought Postecoglou's in-game management was really good as well. Whisper it quietly. Postecoglou was pragmatic. He was. He did things that it'd be interesting to see. We've got a press conference early tomorrow morning with him for the Forest game on Monday, and it'd be interesting to see kind of how he dissects and talks about those sort of things, because he definitely adapted to the circumstances. And look, I've said this before, this kind of idea that his style is only one way and no other isn't true. You can see it in games. He's adapted quite a lot of times. We've seen him play with a false nine, things like that. We've seen the back three occasionally, and we saw it again last night. But it just felt like last night it was a real awareness of the circumstances of the game. And look, however you set up in a game like that, in a hostile atmosphere, the home team is going to create some scary moments for you. It's just going to happen. You can have the best defence in the world, but it's still going to happen. And I felt there were a couple of those. There was like a couple of headers and little shots that rolled past a post and things like that. But on the whole, Vicario didn't have much to do. And that comes down to the way, Spurs managed the game. And probably, actually definitely, across the two legs, I felt they had the better chances, the more efforts, as in good efforts on goal, and deserved to kind of go through. But yeah, there was... I don't know, even in the final minutes, I was like, I don't know if I was as petrified as I have been in some games this season that we're going to concede. And then that final whistle blew, and it was fantastic. Like I said before, a healthy dose or portion of the Spurs journalists that cover the club are Tottenham fans. So we love it when the club does well as well. And it creates this, it just created a great trip. We were just, and I'm sure the travelling fans were exactly the same. Nothing is as good as a victory to kind of round off that sort of thing. It just makes the whole experience sweeter. And you could just see what that final whistle did for Tottenham Hotspur. Just looking down at it, we were above the dugouts, and kind of we had a monitor, on the desk below. I had to kind of peer over. And you could see Postecoglou's face as well. He roared when that final whistle went. He kind of did that real fist-pumping thing. I guess it's all the release, the stress, the pride, whatever you want to call it, coming out of him in one moment. And it was just really nice. The coaching staff, there was all these little things going on. And you might have noticed from things I've said before and done before, I love kind of watching all these little moments, the little kind of behind the scenes little things that, and this was like, it was like one of these amazing paintings where you notice different things every time you look at it. And you had the coaching staff swarmed to this massive kind of huddle, and I don't know who it was. Someone grabbed Ange and pulled him into it. And Vicario came out of nowhere, leapt on the top of it, which I'm sure one day someone's going to do that and actually injure someone, aren't they? And I know that's like a celebration, please. But I always think it's like, it's great. In the moment, it looks fantastic. But you always know that someone's going to end up headbutting someone else's head. We had Richarlison and Mikey Moore were having like this massive... It was Richarlison, Mikey Moore, and someone else. Who was it? I'm sure you'll tell me if you've seen it. Was it Kinski down there? I think Kinski was kind of on the bench, obviously not available. Or was it Alfie Whiteman? It might have been a different goalkeeper in time. It might have been Alfie Whiteman. But yeah, there was this kind of moment. You just think, there's Richarlison going mad as he always does, because he knows that, he's got a chance to play in a semi-final and a final. Hopefully, chance. I did say it. I didn't say it was going to happen. It's a chance. So that was fascinating. And then you just kind of thinking back to Postecoglou. There is something about seeing him in the jumper, and this is really weird. And it's like deep technical analysis, not. But it was just something about the jumper. I think it just kind of took me back to watching him like in the Celtic days, and that. it sounds silly, but at Celtic, that jumper was kind of synonymous with success. And we don't really see him at Spurs. He has a big padded jacket on and stuff like that. And look, I'm not saying the jumper was responsible for the victory last night, because it only actually came out, it's about an hour in. And, football types are very superstitious people. And I do wonder whether he thought to himself, I'm going to keep this jacket on as long as I can because we're doing fine. And then it's like, it just probably got too hot and he had to take it off about an hour in. He's probably thinking, don't concede because I'm taking my jacket off. Some weird little things happen. Whenever I'm playing football, I always have these little weird superstitions as well, which way around I put the boots on and socks, silly little things like that. They're absolutely not responsible for anything whatsoever, but they just, in your brain, they tell you they are. But yeah, just kind of seeing him down there, it was a bit like, okay, that's the end that kind of arrived rather than the one that Spurs and life and football has beaten down as we often do to managers. But yeah, he just set off then across the pitch. He was just seeking out all these various players that he wanted to kind of celebrate and enjoy the moment with, and because he knows what they've gone through. From the outside, it's been incredibly disappointing season. Of course it has. And as I said in the previous couple of videos, the results since players started to come back have not been good enough. Yes, they're finding their sharpness in their feet and stuff. But last night was probably the first real time you saw a Spurs squad and you were like, ooh, there's options in every position there. There's people he can bring on to change the game. Even... We'll talk about it in a bit, but Kulusevski coming on for Maddison, finally there was a playmaker for a playmaker, and that made a big difference in the game as well. And yes, that all does make a difference. But what I was kind of my original point is that Postecoglou's seen what the players have gone through this season. It has been tough on them. I know it's been tough on especially the fans, but it's been tough on these players. He'll have seen them kind of just bruised and battered after games during that winter injury crisis. Brought in sports science staff, medical staff, whatever, physios, whatever you want to call them, all working on them, barely training, just essentially patch them up, wheel them out, get them out for another 90 minutes 3 days later. They've been going through this. And I guess in his mind, this is a reward. Finally, they're getting a reward for it. And yeah, hopefully there's more to come. And this isn't just the sole reward because, I don't know. I'm not overstating this because I'm not saying it's exactly like it, but I do wonder if you're like me. Did you feel shades of 2019? I think it was the green kits, the really professional away performance. That year, Spurs kind of stuttered and stumbled in the second half of the campaign, not to the degree that they have this season. Let's not get it wrong. They ended up fourth in the league that season. But that second half of the season was far patchier and iffier and kind of fraught with dodgy results, I guess, than the first half was. Yet the European nights kind of really propped up the season. Of course, we had some amazing ones in the Champions League that season. But it just had vibes about it. I'm not saying exactly the same because it wasn't as big a stage, but it had the vibes. And I do think it was the green kits and then the moments on the pitch, the celebrations, the moment with the fans as well. And yeah, I think what was really nice about it was that you've had... It's all been a bit fractured recently, hasn't it? The fans and the players and Postecoglou as well with the fans. And it hasn't felt like one club. It just hasn't really. And I think the supporters not only acknowledge the win, but they acknowledge what those players had put in. The players worked their backside off. I haven't got them to hand, but I would love to see the numbers for running and things like that and the effort put in. I've got various stats about tackles, interceptions, things like that. But yeah, I would love to see those because they put the effort in and they got their rewards. And the fans appreciated that, absolutely. And it was just lovely going to see them over in front of them because there's been some uncomfortable moments between the fans away games and the players. Players have gone over to apologise after defeats or whatever. And it's been difficult. They've had to stand there and they've had to take what's coming. Some of it has strayed into unpleasant and abuse and things like that, of course. But on the whole, it's people just letting out their frustrations at a poor defeat. And the players have had to stand there and take it. And it's just been difficult for all round, really, I suppose. But this was just the opposite. This was enjoying the moment together. Real unity, all about the celebration. I mean, like Brendan Johnson. Brendan Johnson to put it mildly, has had an uneasy relationship with the fan base. Some really kind of unpleasant stuff's happened to him. And, there's people with their opinions on Brendan Johnson as well as a player. But even he, and it sounds silly, even he, but on a moment like that, he just went over to this pocket of Spurs fans. I think the allocation was about 2,800. I don't know if it was that many. It didn't look like that many, because it's not easy to get to these games. I know that sort of stuff, but yeah, Brendan Johnson went over there and he just kind of was roaring his delight and punching his fist towards them, and it was great to see. It's just lovely to see him kind of enjoying a moment with the fans. Maybe hasn't had the opportunity. I mean, he's Spurs' top scorer, and he hasn't really kind of maybe had that bond with the fans. And so that was lovely. I mean, who else went over there? All of them, of course. But Lucas Bergvall and James Maddison went over there. Maddison, all battered after the moment with Cal Santos absolutely steamrolling him for the penalty that Solanke tucked away to win the entire tie. And yeah, they were there. Actually, it was quite nice. Maddison and Bergvall were among the players that were taken off then to do the mandatory drug testing that you've got to do after a game. And I think they kind of spent the time waiting, taking celebratory selfies in the little room in the stadium, waiting to get their testing. And what else we had? Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero had this really nice kind of hug in front of the fans. Those two really respect each other. You can sense it. Every time we've spoken to them and you talk about the other one, there's a real kind of... Van der Ven just looks up to Romero massively as this World Cup winner, two-time Copa America winner, and just a great defender. I think I asked him about him. Actually, I think I asked him about him on Wednesday. He has... Romero also has always said great things about Van der Ven. And I know it's silly little things, but if you notice, whenever Van der Ven kind of does a social media post, or most of the time, Romero pops up in the comments. He's always saying something to him. And he calls him Mickey Mouse. I think that's his nickname for him. And they're a great combination. And this is, I think, has been a key thing of this season, as we haven't, and Postecoglou especially, hasn't been able to pair them together enough. When they are on kind of tune, when they are sharp, as we saw last night, they're one of the best central defensive partnerships because they complement each other so well. You've got the pace, you've got the aggression, and both kind of... Romero will really good in the air. Van der Ven's getting better in the air as well, and they just mop up so much, but they just haven't been out there enough together. And yeah, they had some good moments with the fans as well. Destiny Udogie. Destiny Udogie was my man of the match by a mile. It was a great team performance. Even the players that you maybe think kind of, when you look at the scoreline, didn't make as much of an impact, worked their backsides off. Brendan Johnson, we just mentioned, Matisse Tell, both of them worked so hard on the night, getting back and supporting as well as trying to get up the pitch and breaking at every opportunity. But Destiny Udogie. And, when we saw the first leg team sheet and we saw the second leg team sheet, I'm sure a lot of people, myself included, were like, ugh, going to leave Jed Spence out? Oh, that's a big call. He's your guy that can kind of create a lot. But Destiny Udogie has been brilliant in both legs. Last night was probably the pinnacle for me. One of his maybe best performances of the season. I think it was so good. He's a terrific player. I mean, 22 years old. You just kind of forget sometimes that he's still growing into his role. And yeah, he's just got such a long way to kind of go. And he hasn't, he's played more as a wing-back, didn't he, Udogie? And he's kind of adapting to this inverted left-back thing that he has not been used to. And he had this nice moment with the fans as well, where he kept, I think Spurs have really kind of gone to town on it on their social media stuff. I mean, that must be great for the social media guys at Spurs as well, to finally not put out tweets with the fear of just blah and anger underneath them. To actually put out loads of content and people are like, yep, I want to see that. But yeah, Destiny is went up to the crowd and was just tapping the Spurs badge constantly kind of thing. And, there's speculation about Man City move and them wanting him and all this sort of stuff. I'd be stunned if Spurs were ever to even entertain that. Signed a new long-term deal last season. He is going to be a brilliant left-back. And nights like this just further enforce that. It's like you would not let anyone go near him, absolutely. But I just thought that was quite a nice moment. Whether it was in reference to that or whether it was just purely about a thing on the night saying about Spurs, it did the trick. It was really cool. Postecoglou stood a little bit behind the players, applauded the fans. I'm not saying like miles away. He just kind of let the players have their moment and maybe a little bit wary of like throwing himself in front of the fans when, of course, the relationship hasn't been the easiest and he hasn't been the most popular figure, I guess, among some fans. So, yeah, I thought it was probably the right move. It wasn't like he just kind of went off away down the tunnel or anything. He was over there. He just a little bit withdrawn. But look, if he can keep doing this and win these next, or you only have to win 2 of the next 3 European games, I suppose, don't you, really? The first and last, and maybe draw the middle one. And the whole perception of him, even with some of the most angry fans, would change because he would have done something that very few other Spurs managers have. But yeah, it is. What was important for me was the players showed on the night that they're still fully behind Postecoglou. Van der Ven said that in the press conference ahead of the game. He was very, very kind of strong on that they're all behind him. And you could see that. Look, such a disciplined and kind of brave in some aspects display does not come from a team that's abandoned their manager. It just doesn't. I know every time there's a defeat, everyone are very quick like, he's lost the dressing room. Players aren't playing for him. You do not get what happened last night if the manager has not got the support of the dressing room. You don't. Because even in a night like that, yeah, players might play for themselves. They might want to win try and go further in a trophy or whatever. But ultimately, it doesn't work because they become a bunch of individuals. But they believed in how they'd been set up on the night. You could see it, and it worked. And he spoke about it after the game. He said, it would be very easy for the players and staff. They could have left me in a pretty vulnerable place in terms of them splintering, but I've never felt that, even with all the noise around our season. They've been so united in believing in what we're trying to achieve here, and that is what gave me heart all along. If we got our own slice of luck in terms of getting some players back, I really believe this team could achieve. That is what keeps driving me. It isn't so much my belief in them, because I think the question was something about, has it reinforced your belief in them? So it isn't so much my belief in them, it's their belief in what they're doing, and both players and staff have been outstanding. I'm the front man for it, but they take responsibility for it as well, and all my decisions and everything I do. But not at any stage have I felt they lost any belief in me or what we're doing. That is crucial when you're having a difficult season, but there is also a season of opportunity there. And it's really interesting to watch him go around the pitch, going up to various players, even before they went over to the fans, because, how do I put this? Postecoglou's not your kind of cuddly bear type, He's not that kind of guy. He's not a hands-on, kind of lovey-dovey with the players, arm round them kind of type. It's just not who he is. He's more a kind of old-school father figure, I think. Maybe more kind of slightly more authoritative and standoffish a bit, but also he has this ability to, when he speaks to the players, often as a group, kind of gets in their head, gets in their heart as well. He's got that ability to kind of evoke these emotions in them, or provoke in this case. But saying all of that, when he went on the pitch, he kind of went more to that cuddly bear type. Everyone seemed to want a hug from him as well. It was like their endorsement. Maybe that's what comes from that kind of father figures. When they give you a hug, it means so much more. I don't know, but he was going around, and it was he went over to Lucas Bergvall, and Lucas Bergvall kind of went hey to hug him, and he picked Lucas Bergvall up. If you haven't seen it, kind of you see it among the celebration. He picks him up. Lucas Bergvall is a big, as Madison said, he's a big lump of a player. He's like 6'1", 6'2", whatever he is, and he is filled out. So fair play. Postecoglou didn't do his back in the moment, but little moments like that. He and Madison just stood opposite each other and roared and then hugged. Solanke did a massive grin as Postecoglou comes over to him. Kind of every player got their little Postecoglou treatment, as it were. And to be fair to him, he's always had their back. Yeah, there's been the odd little thing where he's kind of said one or two things about players, but on the whole, he's kind of used himself as a shield. I think he's taken a lot of the hits on the chin, whereas, let's be honest, we've seen previous managers at Tottenham Hotspur have called the players out publicly. And some fans like that, some don't. But a lot of them kind of have, and obviously they called out the club as well. But Postecoglou's just kind of wedged himself in the way and taken all the hits. And I think that kind of has allowed the players not to be in the firing line so much. And I think they respect that. I think that is part of the reason that they're still kind of continued fighting for him, because he's been there for them, so they should really be there for him. It was just a night when everything came off. It was terrific. It was so enjoyable to report on. It really, really was. I was just I think I've been guilty in the past with, especially that 2019 season, I think, of just been working so furiously to kind of capture everything that's happening. Sometimes just not looking up and taking it in and enjoying it. And I tried to do that last night as I kind of started to feel like, okay, I think Spurs might actually do this. And I was trying to take it all in, and it was such a really good night in so many aspects. I mean, look, they had no Sonny. They didn't have their kind of star player on the night, the player who has produced in European games so much for them. I think he was about to surpass Kane's European appearance record for the team, I think. But they didn't have him. Obviously got this foot injury. I asked the question at the press conference the day before about how's Sonny, and when he replied he hasn't travelled, honestly, we were all like, huh? I did not expect it. We all assumed that they were being rested against Wolves, that he was going to be okay. But apparently he's just had this pain in his foot that has just kind of been a bit unbearable recently. So kind of going to get that sorted out. But I know there was some stuff about some people were annoyed that he didn't go with and things like that. I don't buy into that. I don't know. I feel sometimes we want to find something to be outraged about, myself included. It is much better for a player like Sonny, for any player that has got, especially a foot injury. I think foot injuries are not a good one to do air travel with either. I'm sure someone told me that once. But regardless of that, you're at Hotspur Way. You're getting all the treatment and the state-of-the-art kind of medical facilities they've got there. You know, Sonny wants to play in this remainder of the season. He doesn't want to be ruled out for the season. He now has semi-finals to try and get fit for and everything. So going over kind of to Frankfurt and just hanging around a hotel, maybe saying a couple of words at half time or whatever, or the start of a game. I don't really believe in all that sort of stuff. It's quite rare. I know there's been the odd occasion. I think Harry Kane went once, didn't he, to, was it the semi-final maybe? Yeah, it was semi-final when he when he was injured, but it's not as rare as kind of people make out. You get the odd occasion that a captain or someone goes with. I'd rather he's just back getting fit and being able to play later when they need him. But look, I know people have other opinions, but look, it did not matter on the night, regardless. And didn't have him, so Matisse Tell came in. Again, I think some people saw that as, Matisse Tell, what's he done? But actually, I changed my mind at the last minute. He was in my predicted team and I took him out. And the reason I put him in was because I'd written a piece before about Matisse Tell being one of the more experienced players Spurs have of playing Frankfurt. Obviously, played for Bayern. He's got loads of experience of playing Frankfurt. He's never lost to Frankfurt, still has not. And I know it's Bayern. He's been playing for all but one of those games now too. But, you know, you're going to put in someone that's going to go into that atmosphere at the Deutsche Bank Park Stadion and not be phased by it because he's been there before and it worked. I thought he was good. You know, people forget again, 19 years old. I felt like he just constantly kept going at them and just taking the ball. And he formed a nice little partnership with Udogie as well. And I think that left-hand side gave them a lot of problems, Frankfurt. They didn't really know how to deal with it. And even if it was that Tell didn't have the ball, he would create space for Udogie to kind of overlap or get inverted and come inside. And it just gave them loads of problems. I did think that worked particularly well, really. I mean, you think that Odegaard didn't even come on, did he? You know, it just kind of shows you maybe he's still not physically in the shape to do that, but also that Tell has kind of stepped up. And the Udogie, I mean, I could do an entire video about Destiny Udogie. I just thought he was so good. In one moment, he's like at the back tackling, trying to intercept the ball and coming away with it. And the next moment, he's bursting up the pitch at the other end. His energy levels were incredible. I think even late in the game, he was down the right flank taking the ball all the way up. And genuinely, you're like, pass this inside, Snaggy could be in, and you kind of think, no, we have to be sensible. You have to go to the corner flag, which he did, and he just ate up more and more time. He was just absolutely everywhere. I've got his stats. 9 ball recoveries, 2 interceptions, blocked 1 shot, made 1 clearance with his feet, another with his head. He won 8 duels on the night. There was this nice little moment when he beat Hugo Ekitike to 1 ball. It was like a really good, strong moment where he took the ball away. Lucas Bergvall celebrated it like it was a goal. It was really funny. Like, yeah! You could just see how together they are. I do think that kind of injury crisis that happened, and Ange Postecoglou did allude to this at the time. He said he thought it would probably bring the squad closer together, those that had gone through it and those who were desperate to come back. And you just kind of see on nights like this, they do kind of have a real close bond with one another. And yeah, just Bergvall just... It's lovely sometimes just to see him be a 19-year-old again and just really kind of get swept up in the moment. Yeah, it was terrific. To be honest, the whole back line were really good. Like I said, Vicario didn't have too much to do. I remember one kind of reaction save second half. First half, there were a few quite comfortable saves he had to make. That was it, really. Pedro Porro was decent, loads of energy. Look, there were crosses that were put in from the right, but sometimes they were trying to double up, and Spurs were quite comfortable on the whole, really just heading everything that came into the box away. I thought Van de Ven looked a lot more like his pre-injury self. I hadn't really seen too much of those sprinting runs that, he got kind of his trademark, where he would race back and stop someone from running through on goal with the high line. And he did one, didn't he, last night in the first half? Ran with Ekitike. Just at the moment he was about to pull the trigger, got his foot in there, and it was really good. And he'd been asked the day before, and he looked shocked at this question. He'd been asked, like, are you concerned that your hamstring injuries, it could end up hampering your career? Because he has had 3, 4 or so of them in the last 3 seasons. He's had quite a few. And he kind of made this noise almost like a dog bark. It's like, what? Like that. And he just kind of really shot it down. And just was like, no. And to be honest, his football, the very next night, did the talking. Kind of did the rest of the explanation. It just showed you that he's not scared of sprinting and stretching those hamstrings, which is great, because that is a big thing, isn't it? The fear factor. We've seen it with so many players that get hamstring injuries. So I thought he was very good. I thought Romero was the rock. He was the kind of the big kind of slab that the whole defence was built around, really. Took a big whack to the head later on as well. He had no intention of coming off the pitch whatsoever. His stats, he won 9 of his 14 duels in the match. He actually produced more successful defensive actions than anyone else on the pitch. 8 ball recoveries, 4 interceptions, some really key ones actually, 10 clearances, 5 at his head, blocked 1 shot. Van de Ven actually wasn't far behind, 10 clearances as well, 6 headed 1 and 3 ball recoveries. Porro, 6 clearances, 3 headed ones, 5 ball recoveries and 1 interception. And I actually think it's a real testament to the characters of Romero, Vicario, Bergvall, that we spoke about them making these big, silly kind of mistakes on Sunday at Wolves, yet they were near faultless in the noisy din, the atmosphere, the hostile environment of the Deutsche Bank Park. Excuse me. If you would put odds on anyone crumbling, it would be the 3 that had made kind of big mistakes just a few days before. But actually, they'd almost like they got it out of their system. They were so focused in the kind of noise. I mean, Lucas Bergvall, I think he needs to have his birth certificate checked. It's like, if he didn't look so young, you probably wouldn't know. Because it was that age-belying display. It's just, he's so calm on the ball. I mean, £8.5 million paid to Jurgarden. It looks like one of the bargains of this modern era in football. It's just going to be an incredible investment in him. Jurgarden, actually, I think they went through in the Conference League, didn't they? They've had a terrific kind of European campaign as well. Yeah, he was just so disciplined, Bergvall, alongside Bentancur. I need to check that now. I'm pretty sure I saw they did. Sorry, I'm going to have to say it's one of those things where I say it, and if I don't check it, oh yeah, they absolutely hammered Rapid Vienna 4-1 away from home to win 4-2 and go through to semi-finals. Fair play. I do like Jurgen. I've got a little soft spot for him after going to see them before Bergvall came across and speaking to them and Bruma Poikana, his two former clubs. So, yeah, Bergvall is he's ridiculous. This is Bergvall's stats. 9 clearances, 4 headed clearances, 4 ball recoveries, blocked 2 shots, made 3 successful dribbles. All of his dribbles were successful. It just kept relieving the pressure on Spurs and just taking the ball out there. And, yeah, the fact that Postecoglou grabbed him and held him aloft like kind of Lion King, oh, Doinga, kind of, he didn't quite do that, but he clearly is just such a favourite of Postecoglou, and rightly so. He's an incredible young talent. I still think there's so much more to come in his game. I think he's going to be far more influential going forward. I think he could settle anywhere. He could settle as a 6, as an 8, could end up being a number 10. Honestly, I've seen him play as a 10, and he's got everything to his game. I think probably he's going to end up being a Gerrard type box to box, and he could be incredible. He really can be. It's just mad that he's in a quarter-final of a European competition. He's putting in a performance like that away in front of 55,000 or so screaming German fans. Very good. Maddison was decent before he took that whack. I mean, it was a great run. Romero again involved, picks him out, ball over the top. Maddison knows he's getting clattered into. He knows that keeper is coming out, and he absolutely slammed into him. Couldn't really tell, it looked initially like a head injury, which obviously was a concern. There was thought maybe there'd be concussion and everything, but actually when he came off eventually, because he played on for a little while, maybe a minute or so, you could just see he wasn't right. But actually when he came off, he seemed to be holding his hip. I don't know, he just kind of was caught awkwardly. Well, he was caught awkwardly. But whether it turned him awkwardly, I don't know. But as I said earlier, the key really, though, was that Kulusevski comes in a couple of minutes before half-time, and it was probably just the right amount of time. It gone to extra time, but could have been a bit iffy for Kulusevski. But to kind of play that 45 minutes or so, another couple of minutes at the end of the first half was just right for him. He fitted in. Bergvall and Bentancur was like a 2, and Kulusevski just fitted in. Kind of maybe Maddison was more withdrawn alongside as a straight 3. Whereas Kulusevski sat in front of them as like a 10 in the pocket kind of thing in front of 2 pivots. And it was... That's the beauty of bringing in a like-minded, similar quality player. You're going to continue to be quite good. Who knew? But I mean, the penalty itself, how in the world that was not seen as a penalty in the moment by the referee and his officials? We're up at the press box going... he's wiped him out. If that's a player that wasn't, it wasn't going to hit up there. Sorry, that was a defender, not a goalkeeper. There's not even a question about it. He absolutely took him out. Mad. And obviously had to get sent to his pitch side monitor, the referee. Postecoglou was asked about it afterwards. He said, I thought it was a clear penalty. I'm not sure why it needed VAR. When a player wins the ball and gets cleaned out, if that was a defender, it definitely would have been a red card. It's definitely a penalty. I don't think it needed a review. Again, I think we got what we deserved. And he was asked about Maddison and how he was feeling, because you could see him on the pitch afterwards. He was he was just enjoying the euphoria. And he said he's fine. Unbelievable courage in that moment to put his body on the line, knowing full well that he was going to get a pretty severe knock. And I was surprised it wasn't a red card. But super courageous from him. He is sore, but I'm sure that that has all been numbed, knowing that he's helped us progress to the semi. I saw Maddison put like a post up this morning on his Instagram story saying, anyone else feeling really sore today? So, yeah, I'd imagine we won't see him start against Forest unless there's a remarkable recovery. I guess technically he only played 43 minutes, so if he feels fine, he actually will be one of the fresher players who started the game. But then also, Kulusevski could probably do with the continued game time. But, everyone played their part for me. I wouldn't say there's anyone in a bad game. I know, like I said, you could say that Johnson and maybe Tell to a degree weren't able to contribute as much as they would have wanted attacking wise, but they did so much defensive work. And actually, Johnson had a nice little moment where he set up Kulusevski for a shot that he cut inside and the keeper saved. So there was this little spell in the second half when he just kept going at them. It was a little bit like the first time. There's the second half spell where I think, who did they have? The Romero headed wide, Bentancur headed over a couple of times, Kulusevski had a couple of shots as well. One of them was saved. There was just various kind of moments where they could have really grabbed control of it. But yeah, penalty was enough. And it was an irony to the game. It was the biggest game of all, really, this season. And Postecoglou was pragmatic. You know, he brought on Kevin Danso, which Danso kind of gave that balance. I think if you bring on Davies, then it becomes a little bit, the balance isn't quite right. You've got the two left footers there, whereas Danso, he kind of was able to just slot in between them. And he didn't look like he'd been away. I mean, he's been out for more than a month. And I actually felt like, he he added something to the back line, and the back three looked good with him in it. And it is something that people have kind of suggested when Danso was coming back, and that maybe we would see. But he did well. But just seeing Postecoglou taking off Brennan Johnson, was it Brennan Johnson, I think, for Danso, and going with another centre back, I was like, ooh, what is this? But I'm sure he'll play it down a bit. But that was him thinking pragmatically rather than just thinking, let's get another. I mean, he may well thought if you go to a back three, you can push Udogie and Pedro Porro further up the pitch, and actually it allows you an attacking sense to get them into good areas. But yeah, it worked fine. Spurs had less of the possession on the night. I think it was like 37%, something like that. They sat deep at points, looked to counter. And yeah, they had kind of willing runners. Like I said, Tell and Solanke were constantly running. Tell and Johnson constantly running. Solanke just battled away. He won 11 duels on the day. And bearing in mind he hasn't scored a goal since January the 4th, he hadn't, because he had the injury, obviously took him out for a fair chunk of that. But 11 games, I think it is. That's a big deal for a striker, especially like £65 million striker. That's a big deal, and regardless of the lack of service for him, he's not going to have enjoyed that at all. That's not going to have felt good. So to go up and take the penalty and absolutely hit it as calmly as he did, fair play, absolutely fair play. He did not look like a player that hadn't scored a goal in 11 games. It was interesting because Tell had the ball originally, and we're all like, I don't know if that's going to be him taking it. I think Postecoglou, excuse me, we could hear kind of shouting, Dom, as if like he was going to take it. I do wonder, though, whether Tell had it. It was doing that kind of thing that's become more of a tactic now, which is have one player hold the ball so that they get all of the crowd going, boo, and all this sort of stuff. And actually they were doing, the crowd were like banging the drum like it was a heartbeat, which I thought was really interesting. It was like this thud kind of thing, just to add to the tension. But then Tell just hands the ball to Solanke, and Solanke goes up and hits the penalty. And he hasn't got all that scary waiting time. And I do think that's a really good tactic. I don't know why people hadn't thought about doing it before, because it does. It soaks up a lot of the pressure and anxiety, and then someone else comes in, doesn't have to think about it, and goes up and takes the penalty. But yeah, terrific penalty. Very good indeed. And yeah, I was pleased with Solanke, because I do think he gets a bad rap, and I don't think people appreciate just kind of what a player he is, but also what a player he's going to be when they learn to give him the ball. It's really simple. Give him the ball. So yeah, we have a European semi-final to look forward to. I know if they get through it with only the second final in 41 years, I feel like it must be only the second European semi-final in 41 years as well. Please let me know if there's another one. I'm sure this is only this in 2019 are the only semi-finals since 1984 in Europe, I think. It's very exciting. It's very exciting, They could make something historic out of this season that looked like it was going anywhere but history. Only like consigned to the bad history scrap heap. And it could be something completely different. And Postecoglou was asked after the game where he felt some relief, especially after so much talk about his position, his future and stuff. And he said, I think I said yesterday, which he did, I'm the same manager today that I was yesterday. So if people think us winning tonight makes me a better manager, or whoever thinks I wasn't doing a good job yesterday should be feeling the same way. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't affect what I do. For me, it's always about the dressing room. Do the players believe? Do the staff believe? That's much more important than what others make of me. So unfortunately, for a lot of you, you're going to have to put up with me for a little bit longer. You have to put up with me for a little bit longer, mate. So let's see how that goes. And it kind of, you'd think that was a joke. It didn't feel like it. He was very seriously looking, and he went, "Okay, thank you," and he just kind of got up and went. I don't think it was a joke. I think it was very much a like, in your face kind of thing. And, hey, if you're going to earn that, that was a night where he earned it. Everything, like I said, I felt every decision he made on the night was spot on. So I think he earned that. If he wants to have a little pop at the media, that's absolutely fine. He's got the chance to deliver something really special now. The season, thankfully, is far from over. It really is far from over. We've got Bodo Glimt. We thought it was going to be Lazio at one point, but it is now Bodo Glimt, and a team from Norway, and a trip to Norway to come. Was it the 1st at home and 8th of May away? It's going to be very interesting. They have obviously done incredibly well in this tournament. They're very strong at home. It's a very different experience there. I'm looking at, obviously, I had to kind of start the process of booking the travel and everything for that game. And it's a small town. It's got its, is it town or city? I'm going to have to look it up. Sorry, don't want to be pumping out fake information here. Bodo is a town. It is a town in Norway. The stadium and the airport are very close together. Very close indeed. I think the stadium only holds 8,000 people, I think. I actually have that in a tab, so I can tell you. 8,270 spectators. So I am intrigued to see what the away allocation is going to be. I'm intrigued to see how many desks are going to be for reporters as well. But, yeah, it's going to be an experience. I feel like the pitch might be an artificial one as well. Let's have a look. It is, made of artificial turf and has undersoil heating. So there you go. Hey, maybe the Tamworth experience will actually Bodo Tottenham well. That didn't make any sense. That was dreadful. You could see it was a long night. Because a lot of teams have gone there and struggled, and they've lost. And it's a little bit like international football. Is it Bolivia? Am I getting that wrong? Is it Bolivia where all the teams go and struggle because of the altitude and just cannot play? Is it Bolivia? I think it's Bolivia. And they all go there and lose games because it's just so difficult to play at altitude. And maybe it's just so difficult to play at Bodo with the Bodo Glimt so there was snow, wasn't there, around for the Lazio game. I saw that, the away leg in that for Lazio, and yeah, it's going to be an experience. But yeah, maybe that Tamworth experience, as painful as it kind of felt on the day and how awkward, maybe just for Spurs, it's like, well, actually, we've had some cup experience on an artificial surface. I would imagine it would be a better pitch than Tamworth, but we'll find out. It's going to be a really interesting. I've never been to Norway, actually. I've already had some Spurs fans in Norway kind of reaching out, offering kind of just help on any kind of info and stuff about Norway and Bodo Glimt, which is great. Saw so many fans on this trip as well, and little chats with them, and we commiserated over the season that had been, and now obviously got something to look forward to and enjoy. When it comes to Postecoglou, we were kind of talking about this amongst ourselves in the media, that you kind of think he gets the season now regardless, because the two semi-finals legs, take you deep into May. And it's kind of by that point, it's almost like, well, the season's almost finished anyway, regardless of what happens, and then all kind of decisions can be made. But look, he could win Spurs a trophy. He really could create a bit of history at Spurs, and his second season trophy thing, which he always gets really unfairly, kind of every article I see written about it pretty much says, he tells everyone about his second half, or he informed people of his second season thing. He doesn't. He was asked about it. He said, yes, I did. And they were like, you often win your second season. He would go, well, no, I always win. And he's just stating a fact. But it's kind of been used as a thing to beat him with, a stick to beat him with. But if he were to win in his second season at Spurs, I think it's just going to be like, fair play. Fair play. You've come and done it at a club that is allergic to silverware. So that is a thing. It'd be amazing. Honestly, if Spurs to win a trophy while I report on them would be the best. It would just be the most enjoyable thing in my professional career, but also as a Spurs fan, I think, it's a great night. It's like the night in Amsterdam where Spurs won at Ajax. Champions League final before it kicked off was great. And, some big nights here, there and everywhere. But that would be something special to see Spurs lift the trophy. But there's still a long way to go. They've got the chance to, they've been starved of success, Spurs, haven't they, really? But they've actually got the chance to taste it in probably the most unlikely of seasons. But they've got to get past Bodo first, and then whatever the final brings us. The final, it's going to be Bilbao, it's going to be United. United's game was just utterly ridiculous. We were sat in a press conference room waiting for Ange to come out, and it was on a screen, and we just like, what? Just utter chaos. I can't decide who, if Spurs were to get through, who I'd prefer they play in the final, because you could argue Spurs have beaten United 3 times this season, but it would be classic Spurs to, beat a team 3 times and then lose in the most important of those. But then I said actually before the game to a couple of fans that I met was walking around Frankfurt, I said, wouldn't it be classic Spurs to actually do play well last night? And they did. Whereas Bilbao at home, it's not really, it's kind of at home. Those games, there's so many kind of tickets given out to kind of like corporate stuff as well. It probably would only be a third of the stadium, maybe. I don't know, it's like catchphrase noise. Would it be as similar to a home game if there's only a third of your fans are in there? I guess it's more being comfortable surroundings, possibly. That's going to be chaos. For people trying to book those, because so many people I think have booked those so far in advance. I think Spurs fans could probably do with United not getting to the final, so that Bilbao fans don't need to buy, don't need to stay in hotels and stuff like that as well. Because, I haven't looked at it yet, but I know a few journalists have, and they were just like, you don't even want to look at hotel prices and flights and stuff like that to Bilbao. So I know a few people would have kind of taken a punt just in case. Again, superstitious. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, which could cause me massive problems. I might have to, I don't know. I don't even think about it yet. Semi-final to go, 2 legs, all on those games. I do wonder whether there'll be a kick on in terms of momentum in the Premier League now. Because like Monday night, Spurs got Forest. Nuno's back in town. Monday night has the possibility to kind of have a really good atmosphere around the stadium. A night game, the fans could really be like, we're in the semi-finals. It could be a real kind of happy feel to the place. And then if you were to beat Forest, who obviously have had a terrific season, then I think it just starts a bit of a snowball effect. There's some tough games coming up in the Premier League. And of course, I think Amrim said similar. I think you're going to have to, in some of the games, just play a complete change 11. I don't think anyone could have any issues with Postecoglou doing it, even though there's a few derbies in there, isn't there? I think the derbies around the games are West Ham and Palace, I think it is. I don't think anyone can complain if he changes the entire 11. I genuinely don't, because those 2 semi-final leagues are so huge. But I do think there could be a little bit of a snowball effect in terms of the momentum. I really hope so. But yeah, great night. Fantastic. Really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed so much about it. It was nice to have something to smile about and enjoy and write about and talk about now. That's it really. That's it. What do we got next? Like I said, press conference early tomorrow morning with Ange. Keep an eye on all the stuff that will come out from that. Monday night, the game. Then my next event is the marathon, which is scarily coming up in just 9 days' time. That is, I wasn't nervous about it. I don't think I'm nervous about it, but there's a little part of me that's like, oh, am I prepared enough? Have I done enough? I've done a lot of runs. I've probably run, 600 miles worth, 700 miles, whatever it is. I can't remember. It says on Strava. I've put in the runs. I've got to do a few more this week. Nothing major. I'm going to do one on Sunday, but I'm supposed to be tapering and starting to slow down now in terms of not slow down, but take my mileage down. And then we'll see where we are Sunday. If anyone's running in it, I'm in the blue area, blue start wave. So I've already one Spurs fan I know is among that blue wave, so he's going to come over. And yeah, if you happen to be there, if you're just spectating or something, if you see me run past, I'm probably going to wear a pair of Spurs shorts, I think. I might not wear a Spurs shirt because I'm a little wary of changing to a kind of a top that I haven't been wearing and just changing little things, that you're kind of used to, and you have these breathable shirts and changing to a Spurs shirt that might not be as much. But I do run quite a lot in Spurs shorts, so are they training shorts? I can't remember. But if you see me running along, please do shout my name, whatever. I'll probably need all the distractions from the knee pain that I will no doubt be suffering from. And it will keep me going, and I'll probably try and put on a bit of a front and I'm fine, and start running like that, and then looking like I can actually get to the finish line. It might help me out. So yeah, please do. And of course, if you haven't donated yet, we're edging towards £24,000 for cancer research, which is incredible, and I'm just over the moon about it. It's fantastic, but I've got to finish the race now. Puts the pressure on. It's not a race; it's just a marathon. So I'm actually not going to be at the Liverpool game, because unless they point me in the direction of Anfield and I just run 26.2 miles in that direction and then jump in some kind of form of transport, I'm not going to be there, but I will try to find somewhere to watch it afterwards in my broken state. But yeah, so that's the week that lies ahead. Time to head off. Let's enjoy this. It's lovely to see social media. There's been lots of mostly happy people. There's the odd person still want to have a gripe, which is incredible. But I think on the whole, everyone is just like, that was lovely. Let's enjoy that and hold on to that feeling for a few more days. Enjoy your Easter weekends. And yeah, a long one. It doesn't really affect us journalists. We kind of, bank holiday days are still days we work, but we get it back. This is why I take kind of people go, oh, you got another holiday. It's because I've worked through all the national bank holiday things, and they kind of mount up as loo days. But enough on that. I'm waffling. Sorry. I think I'm still giddy from last night and the enjoyment of it all. Time to head off. Enjoy your weekend, like I say, and I shall probably talk to you next on probably Tuesday night, so we can discuss the Forest game and the return of Nuno Espirito Santo, who will look at me and just be disappointed when he sees me in the press conference room. But there you go. Right. As always, stay healthy, stay safe, look after yourselves. I shall catch you later. Goodbye.